the first Universalist church I've been to. And I actually did a search, and I see that there are two in the Inland Empire, one in Riverside and one here in San Jacinto. So that was really interesting to see. Interesting place for this church to be located, I thought. But yeah, so I actually spoke recently at Mount San Jacinto College at the Religious Understanding Day, and I was invited to speak here. So I'm very excited to be here to speak with all of you. It's great being here. I'm actually speaking today about an active online learning community that I've been developing now for about a year. It's called Enlighten Together. And this is something I've started online, and I have been gradually developing it and developing a community that attracts people from all around the world. But before I get into this active online learning community that I've been developing, I wanted to talk about learning in itself. And so according to the dictionary description, learning is to acquire knowledge or skill in by study, as well as to become informed of or acquainted with. That's what learning means according to dictionary.com. But frequently I think about what do I think of learning, and what do people or society in general think learning is. And so when I think more about that, I think that I really have a traditional mindset of what learning is. And I tend to think usually before I really started thinking about it, I thought learning was being in a classroom, that I had to be in a classroom in order to learn. I had to be in a room with a chalkboard and with other students, and I had to have a professor in the room with me to tell us what to learn. We had to have textbooks. And to me, that was what learning was. If I wasn't in a classroom, then I wasn't really learning, because learning has to be in a classroom. But as I thought more about it, I thought, this isn't really true, especially now with the internet progressing. I mean, before the internet came around, obviously we had the ability to teach ourselves reading books. We had the ability to do that. We didn't have to be in a classroom to learn. But now I think more than ever that with the internet, with YouTube videos and articles that are online on the internet, we really have the ability to take control ourselves and say what we want to learn about. And we don't have to be in a classroom to be told what to learn. We have the ability to do it. But I think that since we have this mindset that learning has to be in a classroom, we have to be told what to learn, that really we are, even myself, I like to talk on a personal level, but I think that I didn't really understand that I have the control and the ability to teach myself what I want to learn. And I hear it a lot from people. People will say, oh, I need to learn about graphic design. I better sign up for a college course. I need to learn about something. I better register at a university. And I think it's absolutely amazing, because we have this phenomenal tool with the internet that not only allows us to view videos. I mean, there's so many tutorials that people with such extensive background in various subjects, tutorials that people have uploaded. And there's also so many methods to communicate with people now, to really develop a learning community online. Something I also think about frequently is, do we, and even myself, do we continue learning outside of school? Because again, when I think of the term learning, I associate it with classroom and going to college. Do we take action to continue to investigate information, to learn, to read outside of school? And I think when I talk to most people, that I don't see that active learning happening. That a lot of people will focus on their career. They want to learn about their career and focus on that for the rest of their life. Whereas when it comes to learning about other topics that we would have been learning about in school, we don't continue that, because we're no longer in the classroom. There's no longer someone telling us various topics and information. So I think it's interesting that from what I see, learning really kind of stops right after university or right after high school. Because it's easy to go to a classroom and be told what to learn, and obviously it's motivating to get the point, so you pass the test. So that's something interesting think about. And so I have a few questions. How many of you watch documentaries or read articles or do active research? Many of you do, that's good. And how many of you congregate with people to share what you learn or to try to learn from others? I think that's what this group is here now that I'm here. Which is interesting to see because I think when I talk with lots of people and I go out to speak with people to report what I learn, it just sometimes I seem out of place when I tell people what I learned about in a documentary. I'll say, or maybe I went to an event. For example, recently I went to a bug fair in Los Angeles, and I met up with my family this past weekend, and I announced to my family I went to this bug fair. It was about insects and all kinds of topics relating to insects, and it was very awkward for me to report this information kind of to my family, and I just, I noticed this when I'm out and about, is that it's kind of awkward at times to report what we learn, maybe from an article, from a documentary, from a podcast, or something like that. And so, to the questions that I just asked about actively watching documentaries and congregating with people to share what we learned, a few years ago, I wouldn't have raised my hand to any of those questions. I didn't really watch documentaries. I didn't really do any active research personally based upon what I wanted to do. I was going to school and I was watching and learning information, but it was based upon what a teacher was telling me to do, what a professor was telling me to do. And really the motivation behind me learning was to pass my test to get my degree. That's why I wanted to be there. At least that's what I thought. And so I really wasn't there to learn from my own intuition, my own motivation. And so that was when I was in school. But a few years ago, I'll explain why I started to think more about learning and congregating with people to share information. Actually, I was introduced to the movie Zeitgeist. Maybe some of you have seen Zeitgeist. I'm not here to support Zeitgeist or say I agree with everything with the Zeitgeist, but someone had me sit down and watch Zeitgeist. He actually had to tell me a few times. It wasn't the first time, but he told me a number of times to watch it. So finally I sat down and I watched this because my friend had recommended it to me. And when I watched it, there were a lot of topics that were brought up. Topics about our economy, topics about how our system is working and how we live our lives. I mean, really, when I watched it, it was topics that I had never, ever thought about before. And it was funny to me because topics like our economy and things like that. I mean, I was a college student. I felt that I should be respected because I was going to school. Yet I watched this film and I really felt dumbfounded with a lot of topics that I thought were pretty standardized topics that Americans should know. Again, relating to our economy, our government, things like that. And so it just really hit me, and I questioned, why do I not know more about these topics? Why am I not more informed about these issues? And I began to really take interest in it, and I wanted to learn more. I said, why is it that I don't know more about what Zeitgeist has put forth? And I didn't see school really as an option to go to learn. I mean, sure, I could sign up for 1 million classes to learn about various topics, but I really noticed that it's in my control, that I have to be the one to take the initiative to learn and to share and to discuss. And the thing that I noticed is that I am not an expert on topics either. I really have to take the initiative to teach myself, but to also congregate with people who are knowledgeable on the topics that I want to learn about. And I don't have the time to go to school. I don't have the time or the money to really pursue university on these topics. Another thing that stood out to me when it comes to the topic of learning and community learning was when the Occupy movement started a few years ago. And this really stood out to me. At the time I was at Humboldt State University up north. Had a really good time up there. But when I was up there, the Occupy movement started and it kind of spread across the nation. I saw that all these Occupy groups were starting all over the world and here in the United States. And one started on campus at Humboldt State. And this group, I thought it was really interesting as the Occupy movement grew, and this group came together to bring people to awareness about our government, our system, what's going on with money. But I noticed that this group was making demands. I noticed that this group was coming together, but the thing is that it seemed like people were coming together making demands for money situations and the economy, but people didn't really know what was happening because a lot of people, it seemed, were not educated on the topic. So this really stood out to me, and I thought that this was kind of a scary situation to see so many people come together and make demands, yet I would say we're not really educated on the topics. We're not really educated on what the group was standing for. And so this stood out to me again, is how important it is for us to take action in learning, to take control of what we are learning, to really be conscious of what we are actively learning and researching on a day-to-day basis, as well as to come together with people to teach what we learn and to have other people teach us what they know. This is really important, and I think this is really, again, something important to be aware of. So, to relate this all to my project, I noticed that I wanted to learn more, take more control of what I was learning, even outside of school, outside of university. I wanted the motivation to learn. There were a lot of topics that I had interest in that I wasn't addressing in school, such as gardening, Monsanto. I hear about Monsanto all the time, get into discussions about it all the time. And so one of the big things that comes up is, well, why don't we grow our own food? Why don't we become more active in gardening and things like that? And this was a topic that I had said I should learn about that. And I think a lot of people do this, and I should learn that. But the thing is that we don't have the motivation typically to do it. And again, I think this relates back to what we think learning is. We have to be in a classroom. We have to have someone looking over us to tell us what to do. And so, to me, this was very problematic. And a long time I said, oh, I should learn about gardening, but I never got to it. So I started to think more about how can we be motivated to learn? How can I motivate myself to learn? And how can I bring people together to share information to learn? And so I ended up looking at what can I do? I have the internet at my fingertips. I don't know how many of you use the internet, but I'm a very big supporter of the internet, of the opportunities online. And for a long time, I was broadcasting. I was live streaming, which is where I set up a webcam, like a camera, and through my computer, I'm able to set up this webcam, and you can see me. I have a chat room. You can visualize this. I have a chat room, so people from around the world can come into my chat room, and I'm live streaming through a webcam, so people who come into my chat room can see me, and they can chat in the chat room, and I can correspond with them right there. I can talk with them about whatever the topic is that these people want. So this is something I was doing. I was live streaming. And as I came to these realizations about learning, how I wanted to learn about topics, I know people all the time want to learn about topics. They want to share what they know about topics. But we're not actively pursuing it. So I decided to start my own broadcast and turn it into an active online learning community called Enlighten Together. This has all been online based. I've been, again, developing this for a year now. And this is, again, it's where people from all around the world can come into a chat room and we can all talk and share topics. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's something that's, in my opinion, revolutionary, and I would like to see more of these types of learning communities sprout up, not just online, but all over the world, where people come together specifically to teach each other what they know about all kinds of topics. Now, when I first started, it was very sloppy. And to this day, I'm still developing it, and I'm always looking for adjustments. But at the beginning, it was just people who randomly came together and shared whatever they wanted. I said, just share what you want. What do you want to talk about? What have you been researching? What kind of interesting documentary have you watched? And it was just really sloppy. I never knew what was going to be brought up. So eventually I just decided over time that we would feature discussion on a documentary, on a podcast, on an interview every week. And this is what's been gradually happening, is every Wednesday I do my broadcast, and we feature a discussion on something concrete. And this is cool because we're learning from people who have uploaded YouTube videos who have experience in whatever the topic is. So far, we've covered a broad topic every month. We've covered religion, we've covered spirituality, alternative living structures, such as earth shifts in New Mexico, different types of living structures. If any of you have heard about like earth shifts, we've discussed about straw bale homes, again, alternative living structures. We even crossed into permitting, how to permit a building, which I thought was interesting to know, because personally for me, I don't know much about it. I know a lot of my viewers didn't. And right now we're actually going over the topic of gardening, which is something I've been wanting to talk about. And so I found all kinds of videos on YouTube, videos relating to permaculture. I found a really great presentation about the basics of gardening, about pH, the soil pH levels, and watering and when to plant. And so these are videos that I featured, and I encouraged my viewers to watch and to come to my show, and we can all discuss it together. And so some people who came to my show, and this is what I really worked towards, is to have people who are experts or knowledgeable on certain topics. And I've had some viewers come into my show who have been, one guy said he's been gardening for 50 years. So when I had a question, he was able to answer my question or give me, his experience. And it's just been really cool to develop this type of community where people are coming together from around the world to share what they know, to share information. And Enlighten Together, as I'm developing it, as I'm developing this learning community, I don't want it to just be what I'm putting forth. And I noticed this a long time ago, quite a while ago, that it's not about my agenda. I'm not the one who always chooses the videos. I tell my viewers, I say, you guys are really in control of this broadcast. Whatever you want to talk about, share it with me. Share a video that you find. Maybe it's a documentary, maybe it's an article. Share it with me, and down the road we'll feature discussion on this topic. So really, the viewers are in control of this. I say this is their group. This is not my group. And this has been gradually just developing, more and more people catching on to it, and I'm sharing it with more people. So, but this has been a really great group to be developing. And at this point in time, it's all been online. I've had viewers from Europe, from Australia, all over the United States. And I have some viewers that I have ran into from Los Angeles that I would like to connect with. But eventually I would like to see that this type of group learning grows. And I know that there's groups out there that are similar to this, and I'm always looking for it. But I would like to take this to a more personal, or like a personal level, kind of a local thing for California. But at this point in time, the online realm has been so easy to work with. It attracts people. People from all over the world are attracted when it comes to online, because online there's no boundaries. People can tune in from their home to this broadcast that I do. And people can contribute. And that's really my presentation for today, is to emphasize learning, to emphasize coming together to share information and learn, and how we really can take control of learning, that we really can take control of what we are doing. We don't have to, continue this idea that we have to be in a classroom to learn. We have to have a professor or a teacher there to teach us, that we really have the power with the internet to learn about whatever it is that we want to improve our societies and to, again, communicate. Any questions?
Yeah. What is your website, and how many people about are involved in it?
My website, I actually have cards if any of you would like anything, but it's called EnlightenTogether.com. And in terms of the members getting involved, it's really, okay, at this point in time, not so many, because the platform that I was using to broadcast, they switched over to something. For a while, I was on a website called blogtv.com. This is what I was using to broadcast. And a lot of people caught on with my show. I honestly thought that my show was going to fail because a lot of the shows on this particular website were definitely not as progressive as what I'm doing now. A lot of shows, because other people can broadcast through this website that I'm telling you about. They can do the same thing that I'm doing, turn on a webcam, have a chat room, things like that. But a lot of people, they do their shows about maybe their personal lives or about music. So I really started something progressive where I said, I want people to come together to learn. We talk about science. We talk about Monsanto is brought up a lot. Talk about, again, alternative living structures. And so it caught on with that site. And I was featured a lot, actually. I was on the front page of that website a lot. But then it switched. So I've been having to use an alternative platform which has not been the same success. So at this point in time, I do have some faithful viewers, though, that did make the transfer, coming from Germany, other parts of the United States, and are frequent contributors, and they share with me information.
Are you reached through live streaming?
Through livestreaming.com?
Yes. You mentioned live streaming, and I don't know how many people here know how to do that. I just started.
You just started a show?
No, I just started live streaming. Is this something that it's necessary to access your program?
Anyone can access it. It can be, you basically go, I have the player embedded on my website. So you can actually go and you can view the live stream directly on my website. But you can make an account through, there's all kinds of live streaming sites. I use one called On Live TV, there's Justin TV, there's Ustream.com, and these are all similar in terms of broadcast or setting up a webcam. But you don't need to download anything. You can just go to a website, the link that I have, and everything can be viewed there. And I even encourage this for all kinds of progressive groups that anyone can live stream. You could live stream your events if you wanted to, and people could see it if the audio is set up right. Also, there's Google Hangouts, which is a newer thing happening right now that a lot of businesses are doing. Google Hangouts is similar, but it's more geared towards interviewing people, and you can actually see people interviewing one another. So, these are really, in my opinion, modern ways of sharing information, of gathering people's attention. It's more visual, and it's a lot more fun because it's interactive. That's why I like this live streaming a lot, because I can talk with my broadcasters. They're not just listening to me go on kind of like a radio broadcast. They actually can talk with me, and I talk with them at the same time. And anyone can do this, and it's really fun because it's like a community. It's really building connections with people all over the world who want to learn, who share, and discuss information.
I think we need a little workshop on live streaming.
I have one of your cards, and it says blogtv.com/people/Enlighten Together. Is that right?
That's my old
That's
site.
the old one?
But if you just go to EnlightenTogether.com/live broadcast, that's where I have the player embedded.
And it's Wednesday at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
That's when you're live.
Do you use the chat room format? Because I find it very annoying.
The chat room? Yeah, I do.
It's time sensitive. In other words, you're answering a question that was asked 10 questions before.
It becomes really challenging, and that's the thing with the chat, and that's why I wonder if Enlighten Together ever takes off and I get more viewers, will I be able to maintain this correspondence